Hi, this is John with Fix It Planet. Today we're going to take a look at this SWR Sound Corporation LA Series preamp. The customer's already installed one of the 1/4-inch jacks, and he's removed these three over here on this side. He's installed that one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to touch up, add a little flux and solder, and touch up his solder joints. Make sure that they're all fully connected. And we're going to take out, he's used a pair of snips to cut these off, and that's where he's damaged and exposed some of that ground plane. But for the most part, it's fine. We just need to, we're going to cover up the exposed ground plane using some epoxy. But all of the areas that need to be connected appear to be connected. So everything should be fine once we get it cleaned up and install these new jacks. So we're going to put some fresh flux and wick out the solder from these holes and remove any leftover bits of the legs that were left behind. You can see one there. And all of this is really quite large. These components are large enough that you don't need a microscope to do this repair. So that makes shooting this video very easy, at least from the standpoint that I can just I don't need to switch over to a microscope or anything like that. And this was shipped in to us from Florida, and I believe the customer is sort of refinishing the cabinet that this goes into with some fresh new material and making it look all nice again. And I guess he got started on replacing these jacks, and after a little bit of damage decided to stop, which was probably a good thing, and send it in to us. So I'm not entirely sure exactly what model what sort of model cabinet this would have been installed in, but I'm going to insert a photo here of what it probably would look like, as close to what I can find as possible. So this is probably what it would look like when it's installed in the cabinet. So I'm not sure what to put this under. I'll probably create a different, like a new playlist for sort of miscellaneous PCB repairs or whatever, something like that. And we've actually, for example, someone takes their fuel injection controller board off of their BMW. They bring it in, they have us replace like 6 MOSFETs. We give it back to them, they hook it up, and away they go. So we get a lot of stuff like that from some of the mechanics around our area. And in this case, this one is for musical equipment, guitar amp, bass amp, or something of that nature. And so we've had farmers bring us the fence energizer, which is one video that I've actually uploaded. But I just don't have, I'm by myself doing these repairs. I'm really getting overwhelmed with the volume of repairs that are coming in, and it's making it really difficult for me to do videos and the repairs all together. I can do only so much at one time. So I'm trying real hard to see if I can diversify some of these videos and get more variety in the subject matter and the different types of repairs that we do, as well as maybe incorporate some software topics and other things as well. They're all related to this type of thing, micro soldering or consumer electronics repair, software, computer repair, and just a variety of different things that I haven't been doing videos of, but we get a lot of it. So when I get kind of the opportunity to do something different, I would like to be able to upload it to show that we are versatile and we are capable. So we're going to clean off some of this flux residue. and take another quick look and make sure that these holes are all clear. Looks like we still have another leg there. I think that was the last one. So we're just going to clean that up and get it prepped and ready for the new ones. Yep, everything's nice and clear, so we'll go ahead and clean up our mess here and touch up the solder joints on the 1/4 inch jack that he installed. Make sure that it is fully connected on all legs. So a couple of these on the bottom side are kind of missing, their pads are damaged, but there is looks like on the top side everything looked okay. And the main trace that's connected right here, that one is still good and intact. It survived. It looks like these front two are missing just a little bit of their pads, but on the top side everything looked okay. It's not pretty, but it looks like they're connected, so I don't think there should be any problem there. And that's actually the input jack, so if it doesn't work, then you're kind of screwed. So we're just going to go through and add some flux and some more solder and just touch up the top side. And I thought putting it in this vise might help a little bit, but nah, it really didn't do any good. Thought it might make it a little easier to see, but yeah, it was didn't work out the way I thought it would. So as long as we get a good solid connection up here on this side for the rest of these legs, this jack should be fine. Let's get rid of this vise. It's just in my way. We'll just prop the board up a little bit, get a little different angle to it so we can kind of see what we're doing down here. Make sure these three legs are properly connected. Have plenty of solder on them. So yeah, it's not pretty, but it should do the job. Now on this side here, we're going to go ahead and break out some epoxy, mix it up, and we're going to cover over the exposed ground plane. Give that epoxy a good mix. And we'll just be able to take little dab will do ya. And we're just going to touch it up on any of these little areas that are exposing ground plane, so that when we solder in the new jacks, that there's no chance that the solder will bridge anywhere it shouldn't go. We don't want it to bridge over from one leg to another, or that type of thing. So in this area here, it's where the worst of the damage is. We really want to make sure that that's completely covered. But we have a few other little tiny spots here and there. We'll just go ahead and use, we've got plenty of epoxy, we'll just go ahead and use that. And cover up any exposed ground plane. So there's no chance that solder is going to cross over from one leg to another or touch someplace it shouldn't. Just going to make sure that we got all the areas that we want to cover up. And then we're going to let that epoxy cure. Clean up our mess over here. And then we'll come back to it. Okay, the epoxy has had plenty of time to cure. It actually sat overnight. I think you only need about 30 minutes, but I had other things to do. We just let it sit overnight. Well, these are 1/4-inch jacks for like headphones and guitar plugs, things like that. And, you know, you would think that, gee, these should just sit flush against the board, but in fact, they need to be raised up above the board a certain amount so they'll line up with the holes in the cabinet. So we gave it as much as we could give it. The legs are only so long, and I needed, this one was a little crooked, so I'm bending it just ever so slightly to straighten up the other side. And we're making it basically equal to the pots that are sticking out there, these volume pots. And so they're all going to line up pretty well once we're done. I think the original jacks probably had longer legs, so these may not be 100% accurate, but they should be close enough to fit. And if they're off even just a little bit, you can probably shave the cabinet just ever so slightly, modify it, and they'll be fine. So now that we've got that first one in that we just did, we'll be able to use it to basically align the other two. We'll get one leg soldered in so that we can get it lined up the way we want it. It matches the one beside it. So there won't really be enough room to get to all of the legs when they're so tightly clustered together that way. And we're going to come in from the underside of the board to make sure that all the legs have plenty of solder and make a good connection. So we'll come in at an angle as long as we can access it and reach it. But anything that we're unable to reach, we'll come in on the underside here and finish it up. So they'll actually take quite a bit of solder. That's a very large hole actually to fill, and we want to make sure that they are full and that the legs have plenty of solder, because the plugs will be getting plugged in and unplugged, and the only thing that is basically going to be giving them some support are the little rings that screw on to the faceplate. So we want to make sure these solder joints are as strong as they can be. So now we'll go ahead and use some 100% pure alcohol and scrub off any of this remaining flux residue. Get the board cleaned up nice and neat. And we'll be able to pack it in a static bag and ship it back to the customer, and he can get his cabinet all finished up. So that all looks good. Everything should work. Hopefully you found this interesting and enjoyed doing the video and uploading. If you liked it, like and subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.